Good evening and welcome to the 6 o'clock news. The show takes you across the ocean and around the block with more news than you wanted to know. Were you at school and at work? This is what made the headlines.
Hi, I'm Jane Jones, opening our broadcast tonight with a tragic story from Carmel, Ohio. Leading citizen Mr. Humpty Dumpty was found today by rescue workers after falling off a 20-foot high garden wall in his backyard. Evelyn Wrigley has the story.
Thank you, Jane. I'm here with Chief O'Brien of the Ohio Police. Chief, what does it look like to you?
Well, I'll tell you, this is going to be one tough one to crack. You've got your basic good egg that climbs up on this wall.
Why do you suppose he did that?
Probably to get cool. It's been hot enough lately to fry eggs on. Well, never mind. Anyway, we're just trying to pick up the pieces and see what happens.
Well, I see you have reinforcements.
Yep, we've got all the king's horses and all the king's men, but personally, I think it's too late.
How's the family been taking the news?
Well, we haven't been able to get a statement. They're all in shell shock.
Back to you, Jane.
And in Munchkinland, manslaughter charges have been filed on Dorothy Gale of Topeka, Kansas, and her terrier Toto. Sources say that Miss Gale directed a house to fall an unsuspecting victim. Her whereabouts are unknown at this time, but she and her dog were last seen heading for the Emerald City. Dick?
Dick Smith here with late-breaking news from the Cheddarville City Council. Our newscaster on the go, Melissa Wright, has details of a move in council chambers that could have an impact on mice around the world. Melissa?
I'm here at Cheddarville City Council with Council Mouse Wilma and Council Mouse Mai. I understand you took a bit of made history tonight.
Well, we certainly hope so. It's time for mice to take charge of their destinies and quit being pushed around by cats.
How do you propose to do that?
Well, we've got the stuff. Sure, Mai. We're going to tie it around the cat's neck, so we can hear him coming when he tries to sneak up.
That's brilliant, but who's going to put the bell on it?
Ma? Me? I thought you said you were going to do it. I never said that after I thought of the idea.
Melissa
You
Wright,
should carry
sign
on.
off.
I don't want to.
Meanwhile, in England, Miss Alice Little's report that she has still not returned after having last been seen scaring down a large hole after a rabbit in a waistcoat. Our London correspondent has a live interview with one of the witnesses, Tiffany Shrimpton.
Tiffany Shrimpton here with Mr. Ollie Ribbons, a man who has claimed to have seen it all. Tell us, Mr. Ribbons, who exactly did you see?
Big bloke he was, big as a house, with blazing green eyes and fangs as long as your arm.
And he was wearing a waistcoat?
Dapper chap he was, and carrying a pocket watch too. Muttering to himself all the well hours. He was going to be late.
Late for what?
An important date, he says. Now, it's not the like of me to question the likes of him, but I thought it was mighty peculiar.
So he forced her to go with him then?
I haven't to tell you yet. Hello, Mum.
Mr. Ribbons.
Sorry, I got a bit carried away.
Do you think she was kidnapped, Mr. Ribbons?
More like rabbit napped. Funny thing, though.
What?
She was chasing him.
And where were you during all this?
Why, right over there, McDougal's pub.
Back to you, Jane.
Miss Little's older sister, heavily sedated, claims responsibility for the sudden flight of fancy, having subjected her siblings to the tedious boredom of a book without pictures. As of this broadcast, there has been no ransom demand for the aforementioned rabbit, a situation which Scotland Yard calls curiouser and curiouser. Sally?
Well, the results of last week's big spin in the California lottery has turned up a not-so-surprising man. Ebenezer Scrooge, an industrialist from Santa Monica, once again picked the 6 lucky numbers. When asked what Scrooge would do with his winnings, he replied that he planned to hire a consultant specializing in dream analysis. According to Scrooge, the past 3 months has been constantly interrupted by nightly visitors claiming to be ghosts. Sounds pretty scary to me. Dick?
Not as scary as this late-breaking report, Sally. In Eastern Europe, word comes to us that a kingdom, yes, an entire kingdom, has apparently fallen asleep.
Summer rerun time again, Dick?
Worse than that, Ralph. Before nodding off, our sources were able to tell us that WAB, a terrorist group of witches against beauty, was behind this dreadful dozing deed. The action, they say, was primarily directed against the king's only daughter, Sleeping Beauty, for failing to include their spokeswitch at her birthday party. The curse, as we understand it, can only be broken by a conquering prince.
Well, where can I line up?
Don't pack your bags yet. We also understand that the intended victim was nowhere on the premises, but instead was a star attraction at Wimbledon.
Sounds like a good lead-in to me, Dick.
And now, Spotlight on Sports with our own Ralph Brown.
Thanks, Dick. Some were betting it was a long shot, but the results of the Boston Marathon are in, and we have a new champ. Theodore Tortoise, who stunned you last spring by defeating Jack Rabbit in a 5-mile sprint, took victory again today by sticking his head out and crossing the finish line. And in the third set of the women's semifinales in tennis, we have a Sleeping Beauty won by default, and Snow White returned to the court after a brief snack. Miss White, an apple in hand, is still asleep on the net. Sally?
If you're looking for a hot new sound for your next party, an unusual quartet from Bremen Town is about to change the face of American music. Our own Jane Jones has the story.
Calling themselves the Bremen Town Musicians, a cat, a mule, a dog, and a rooster have teamed up and recorded their first hit for New Wave Records, already promising to skyrocket to the top of the charts.
Going to tell us what some of the hit songs are, Jane?
I'm glad you asked, Ralph. Among the favorites they've included I Got a Crow, Kitten on the Keys, I Was Stubborn, and that long-time tearjerker, You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog. The quartet is presently on a tour throughout the barnyards of the United States, and the group has also been approached by Megan Trainor.
Wow. You want to sing with them?
Nah, just keep up by them and keep them in our house. The young singer quoted, I think they're awesome. Sally?
Officials.
Oh, yes. The notes.
Yes.
Yes. Those notes can be tricky. Oh. You remember last week, Dick? Oh. Broncos was a train wreck. It's actually, what is it, 8? I think so. No, is it page 8? Maybe 9? No.
You guys always do this.
Oh, Ralph, you caught.
On the world economic scene, Wall Street is still baffled by the sudden dominance of gold. Karen Martin in the Kingdom of Mystical has details.
Search me. I got up this morning and everything I touched turned to gold. My clothes, my furniture, even my bowl of cereal.
Yes, well, that must be very exciting.
And very inconvenient. Have you ever tried to eat the gold cheeseburger?
What do you plan on doing it at all, Your Majesty?
Give it away, a whole lot of it. All those glitters isn't gold, honey. Remember that.
Mind if I keep this? Back to you, Sally.
Officials from the Bronx Zoo reported an unusual fact last night. Hilda, their prize goose, which lays golden eggs on a daily basis, was missing from her lakeside pen at feeding time. Officials suspect foul play.
And in Bear Valley Municipal Court, proceedings continue in the 2-week-old trial of Red Riding Hood, who was charged with breaking and entering by the 3 bears. Throughout the trial, Miss Hood's lawyer has maintained that it is a case of mistaken identity, as Miss Hood was delivering lunch to her grandmother in a forest 20 miles away at the time the incident occurred.
And have you ever dreamed of being a princess? Well, an unusual search has been speared to... That's going to please.
Yeah. I think it was the Bulgarian embassy.
Prince Joseph Charming. The search has been spirited rush to the podiatry's office of Dr. Sebastian Poindexter. Our field reporter, Meredith Langley, has the story.
So you say the phone is ringing off the hook, Doctor?
Yes, it's rather incredible. Women from all walks of life have been scheduling themselves for foot reduction surgery.
Any speculations on this trend, Doctor?
Well, my theory is that it began at the lost shoe incident from the Bavarian embassy in Michigan.
Care to explain?
Well, from what I've read, a young unidentified woman fled the embassy again as a stroke of midnight, leaving behind a glass shoe. Apparently, Prince Charming was so dazzled by her that his kingdom has set out a sizable reward for any information leading to her discovery.
Well, where does the foot surgery fit in?
Well, as you can see, the shoe in question is quite small.
How pretty, man.
The shoe was obviously custom made for one young woman in the world, the young woman who was at the party. Certainly such an announcement would encourage the most unscrupulous to enact and...
It fits!
I beg your pardon?
It fits! It fits! Look at this!
Yes, it certainly does.
Oh, Doctor, do you know what this means?
And she'll live happily ever after.
signing off for good. Bye, Dick. Bye, Jane. Bye, Sally.
Well, folks, there you have it with the 6 o'clock edition.
And coming up after this evening's movie, we'll be back with these stories.
A scam in the works in Pensacola, Florida. If a boy offers you a handful of beans in exchange for a family cow, officials will tell you why you should say no.
Looking for a good real estate buy? A 45-room shoe with playground equipment can be yours. We'll tell you why.
And in sports, we'll have a wrap-up on the Billy Goats versus the Trolls and the NBA's newest surprise recruit, Tom Thumb.
Join us, won't you, for details and more.
Good night.